All right, folks, as I said, I really had a great seat for this icebreaker discussion since I was with our Teacher of the Year honorees and superintendent. So we had a good conversation at my table. But I'm Wade Culp, president of the Rotary Club of Greenville. It's a treat for me to welcome you to our meeting today. This is one of my favorite programs of the year, honoring Teachers of the Year. I'm a former school teacher, and it's wonderful to see the excitement in our local public schools. So thank you for being with us. And I would ask Caroline is going to stand in and lead us in the invocation and pledge.
I know your agenda says Rebecca Duncan, but she was not available today, so I'm hopping in here. If you'll bow your heads and pray with me. God, we thank you for being able to contribute through Rotary to the development of society by caring about those who come after us. In life, there is time for everything, including bringing up new generations. A child learns by listening to and watching his or her parents, teachers, and elders. We thank you today for those teachers. But a moment comes in our children's lives where they begin to be guided only by their own thoughts and attitudes. From that moment on, parents and others must place all their hopes in what they gave to the child through their words and example. What was sown has sprouted and begins to grow. Therefore, we pray to God for wisdom and foresight in teaching good habits for every individual to care for their community and for all those who need help. We pray for wisdom in imparting to our young a sense that giving and receiving are part of the same circle of life and that there is no balance in life until that circle is closed. Amen. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And where my father's house and the pilgrim's bride from every mountain side, let me now ring.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to recognize our guests that we have here today, this afternoon, and so we can give them a warm Rotary welcome. First, we have Jeff Cox. Jeff, can you stand up? Yes, Jeff, who is a guest of Terry Weaver. And then we have Alex Darst. Yes, Alex, who's a guest of Linda Knorr. We have Derek Lewis, a guest of Wade Culp. And we have Deborah Faulkner. Hi, Deborah. And who's a guest of John Malden. Luke Rhodes. Hi, Luke. Luke, who is a guest of Marty Elliott. Rachel Inman. Yes. Hi, Rachel. Yes. Who's a guest of Penny Robbins. So those are our guests. We also want to acknowledge our visiting Rotarian, Dave Brenner, who's our district assistant. Governor, where are you, Dave? Good to see you, Dave. Great. And last but certainly not least, I certainly want to recognize Dr. Burke Royster and our Teacher of the Year nominees, honorees, and the other school district employees and guests that we have here this afternoon. Thank you very much for coming.
I'm here to talk about our next meeting. Now, in case you don't know it, we're not going to be here, not going to be the old lunch. We're going to Ink and Ivy, one of the best restaurants right on Coffee Street. We're going to have the fall social there. That's the 11th, 6 o'clock. Some of you haven't signed up yet. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing. Besides the great food, we picked out a fantastic menu. By the way, I'm representing Ryan Brown, who's our chair, and Christine, who's not here today, but So anyway, let me tell you a little bit about it. So we're going to do a little bit of trivia night. We're going to have some gifts, certificates from really top restaurants in town that you can win if your team wins. So there's a real opportunity. So I want to make sure everybody starts to sign up and gets excited about this because it's great. So now I have to kind of do a little bit of channeling my inner Ryan Thackeray, who's not here today, thankfully, and ask you guys some questions. Because remember, we're going to put together teams of different age groups. So the questions might be good for one person, but not for another. So let's see. Oh, by the way, there is a little bit of a prize if you get the question. We have $10 gift certificate to the Bridge City Coffee. So there we go. So here we go. Here's the first question. Can you name 2 streets associated with the Beatles? I think you had it first. All right. We have a winner. Okay. So here we go for the next one. Now we're going in another direction. You ready for it? Here we go. What was the name of the man who fought the mountain by trial combat in Game of Thrones? Let's say it out loud. Anybody have it? Okay, if you don't have that, then I'll say, why was he fighting him? What was the trial combat for? Do you remember who was it involved with? What's that?
I'm Becky Benjamin.
There we go. Nobody has that? Game of Thrones. Nobody has a Game of Thrones. I thought that would be an easy one. Okay, I'll skip that one and come up with another one. The Simpsons, okay? Who is the vegetarian on The Simpsons? That's it, I heard that. Lisa, and you know why? Can you tell everybody why? She went to the petting zoo and petted a lamb. Well, this table is doing pretty good. Let's see if we can come up with one more Game of Thrones. Okay, what was the name of the Mad Queen? The Mad Queen in Game of Thrones. What'd you say? Daenerys. Okay, there we go. So, okay, now I want to say who signed up for the fall social so far? Okay, and who's going to sign up? Okay, you can bring your spouse, please. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you.
So our club has always had a strong focus on education. As a matter of fact, a former district governor said that we're kind of known as the education club amongst all the Rotary clubs in our district. And I think through our involvement with Teacher of the Year and just being active in schools, we have a recognition that the most critical factor of a child's education inside the building is the classroom teacher. A teacher's job is really, really challenging these days. They have to teach children of all different levels and abilities. They have to do all that planning. They have to deal with the parents, and all the expectations are pretty unreal. I think that if you add a teacher in a high poverty school, it's even more overwhelming because they have so many issues outside the school they have to deal with. And that's what led to our club adopting Alexandria Elementary School 4 years ago. And we don't have time to talk about all the things we're doing at Alexander, but one of the things we're doing this year that we have not done in the past is we are recognizing a teacher of the month and a staff person of the month. And part of that recognition, we bought an eagle because that's their logo, and the art teacher painted it. And so there's one for teacher of the month and staff person of the month that goes on their door. And so today, another benefit of being the teacher and staff person of the month is they get to join us for a nice dinner. So I'm going to introduce for you to you guys the Alexander Teacher of the Month is Madison Siegman. Madison, will you stand up? So these winners were nominated by their peers, and so Madison is in her first year of teaching, and she teaches third grade. So just a couple of comments. Madison has taken, for one of her peers, Madison has taken her classroom into her own hands and absolutely just shined. Even though she's a first-year teacher, you would never know it. She loves her kids, cares about the school, and is doing everything that a teacher should be doing to make sure that her students are successful. Another person says, Madison is amazing, all capital letters, with her students, and she meets every challenge head on with loving care. So it's hard to imagine a year ago, she was a student at Burke University, and now she's Teacher of the Month. Keep up the good work, and you'll be sitting at this table pretty soon. So congratulations, Madison. Our staff person of the month is Matthew Fricks. Matthew, please stand up. So Matthew is a paraprofessional who works with one of the special ed classes. A couple of the quotes is Matthew always has a smile on his face. He always has a listening ear. Another person says, Matthew has been amazing in looking out for all of our students, not just ones in his class. He gets the whole school pumped up about activities, helps monitor for school safety, organizes spaces more efficiently, and provides a listening ear to the kids who need it the most. So congratulations, Matthew. Thank you for all y'all do. So on to our program, let's start by introducing, we're blessed to have our superintendent with us today, Dr. Burke Royster. Dr. Royster became the 10th superintendent of Greenville County Schools, which happens to be the nation's 46th largest school district. He became the superintendent in 2012. His tenure has been marked by significant advances in student achievement, with particular focus on improving the graduation rate and college and career readiness. His signature initiative is called Graduation Plus, which is a pre-K-12 effort to ensure that every student graduates with college credit and or industry certification. Dr. Royster has been named an Education Week Leader to Learn From and the South Carolina Association of School Administrators Superintendent of the Year. He serves on the governing board of AASA and is past chair of the large countywide and suburban district consortium. So welcome, Dr. Royster.
Thanks, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And on behalf of Greenville County Schools, our board, administration, and our students and employees, to express my appreciation to you for your ongoing support of public education in general, and Greenville County Schools in particular. They didn't tell me how long I could talk, but I know I'm not supposed to talk long. I was a Rotarian for quite a few years before I came to Greenville. And if I know one thing about Rotary, I know that whatever time it's over, then everybody gets up and leaves, no matter whether you're done talking or not. So I do want to share a few thoughts with you before I think then you're going to hear from our teachers of the year, hear about them and hear from them. It's always been a challenge to be an educator. I started 43 years ago. So it was a challenge in 1980. It's not the same challenge it is today. I suspect if you've got somebody up here right now that started in 1940, they tell you that was a challenge as well. Just looked different. But we're now facing some of the more unique challenges we've ever faced, and it's never been a time when it was more crucial or critical to have support in our community. In general, about 25% of the people in our community have children in school. So they kind of know what's going on, right? Because they're experiencing it every day through their child. So 75% of our community probably has no direct interaction with school. Now, some percent of that 75, and I don't know what it is, some days I believe it's close to 100, but some percent of them apparently get all their information off the internet. Now, I don't know how much of your information you get off of the internet, but I would imagine that you are discerning in what you believe and read about what you see that's broadcast on all these various, particularly social media platforms that seem to have, to a great deal, taken the place maybe of our more traditional media that we have relied on for years to provide balanced and opinion-free coverage of the news, other than where they clearly said it was their opinion. Unfortunately, people are listening and sharing, and unfortunately passing along information that's just not accurate. So one thing I would say to you today, if you see all that stuff on the internet, that we have students that we allow to be cats at school, that's one of the latest ones. I don't know if you've heard that or not. All right, that's one of the latest ones that's making the rounds of social media. Well, if you read something that you believe might not be accurate, if you'll call us and tell us that, we'll tell you whether it's accurate or not. That's not, okay? In fact, it's been so widely spread that there were actually members of general assemblies in 2 different states that had to publicly apologize for spreading that misinformation around. But it's now circulating in our community. So we need to make sure that we're getting out the message of what we are doing and what we are not doing. In particular, along the lines of indoctrinating people, all right? If they could indoctrinate their students, what would their students do? They do exactly what you told them to, right? They show up to work every day prepared. They'd have their paper, their pencil, their Chromebook. They'd have everything they needed. They would unfailingly follow all your directions. They'd do all their homework, and they'd pass every course, right? If we could effectively indoctrinate people, that's what they'd do. Now, I think they'll tell you that their students don't all do that, okay? And that they spend a considerable amount of time trying to get them to do those things. So if we could effectively indoctrinate people, we'd first indoctrinate them in what we need them to do, secondly, in what they need to know, so we would hit the top in every standardized test they're given, right? So that would seem to a degree dispel the idea that we can effectively indoctrinate people. What we can do with a high degree of effectiveness is teach young people the core academic information they need to know and help them to develop the skills they need to have to not only develop, but to implement what is becoming probably the most important skill anybody can have. And that's the ability to take all this information. If you've got, every one of you's got some kind of device like this right now, right? At least most of you are kind enough you don't have it out, looking at it or scrolling through it or texting or whatever. But you got one in your pocket, in your purse, maybe laying down on the table. There's more information there that's contained in the Library of Congress, right? There's extremely accurate and important and relevant information there. And there's a whole lot that's not. So one of the greatest challenges we have is to help to teach young people to find information that is accurate and an objective fact, and then to help to teach them and prepare them to look at that information and think about that information and develop whatever opinion they're going to develop about it. It's not our job to teach them what to think. It's our job to teach them how to think. And that's what we spend our time doing. And that doesn't matter what place on the political spectrum you might be on, not our job to advance your political viewpoint. It's our job, particularly as they get older, move into high school, to expose them to viewpoints around all sides of an issue. That's part of the learning process, but not to espouse to them a particular viewpoint, but to help them learn how to go through information and glean from that what is accurate, and then how you think critically about that. And how, also becoming ever more important, how can you sit down and discuss that information with other people without it becoming a personal attack on either one of you? We have, to a degree, lost the ability to engage in civil discourse in our society. which yet becomes another responsibility for public education. Some of you have seen these things about what public ed did in 1940, and the list is like this long, and now what's expected of public ed to do now, and it's like this long. All these things. You can think back. Some of you have been out of school a few years, some not so many. Doesn't matter where you are on that timeline. There are things that are taught in school now that were not taught when you were there, because we are required to teach those things. Yet the school day is still the same length it was. I graduated high school in 1976. The school day is just as long as it was in 1976. And it's as many days out of the year as it was in 1976. Teachers work 5 more days than they did then. But students still go to school. South Carolina, 180 days. That's how many days you went to school in 1976. Yet there's an increasing level of responsibility. The other thing that you will see, and those of you that have children in school or you have had them in school recently have probably already seen this. We teach things now, core academic material in high school that most of us wouldn't have seen until we got to college. We teach in now middle school. I went to junior high, but we teach now in middle school what many of us would have been taught in high school. And upper elementary grades, as far as English language arts and math, they're being taught the things that I was taught probably seventh or eighth grade in junior high. So the academic rigor is far greater. The demands on the time are far greater. The responsibilities of public schools are far greater. Yet at the same time, we're producing a higher number of graduates. Our graduation rate's up in the 80s, upper 80s%. Anybody know what it was in South Carolina in 1960? Everybody talks about the good old days. Anybody have any idea what the grad rate in South Carolina was in 1960? You're too high by twice. It was about 30%. 1960. How many years ago was that? It was about 30%. Now, not as accurately kept as we keep today. That was basically they entered in the ninth grade and did they graduate on the other end. So this idea of the good old days, not so good for everybody. Okay? And not as rigorous as we might tend to want to believe that it was. But those are challenges that our teachers and our principals, supported by the other employees in our district, the challenge that they meet every day. Every day. And they're doing an effective job with it. So I said our graduation rate's upper 80%, so we've increased it 12 points in the last 10 years. Talked about, Scott mentioned our G+, our graduation plus in this G+. This past year, now to give a little perspective to this number, we have about 5,500 graduates a year. So a little over 5,000 seniors. If you're taking a course for college credit, you're generally going to be taking it in the 11th or 12th grade. So you can kind of picture the population size there. More commonly in the 12th grade, but also in the 11th. Our students earned about 25,000 credit hours of college credit. 25,000 credit hours, either through dual credit or AP test. Now, if you're a parent of a student going to college, what's 25,000 credit hours translate into? A considerable amount of money. We have students that leave us with 50, 60 credit hours. Now, that's a little unusual. Most of them leave with, 6, 9, something like that. About 5 years ago, we were producing a little over 600 industry certifications, 5, 6 years ago. This past year, we produced over 8,000. Now, they are predominantly earned by 12th and 11th graders. Now, when I say 8,000, we've got students that earn more than one. So the 8,000 is not number of students. I think we had a little under 4,000 students earning those 8,000. industry certifications. Everything from welding to machine tool, interior firefighting, culinary arts, some various computer certifications, all of which you can go straight to work without taking any additional coursework at greater than minimum wage entry-level jobs. So we're having a great deal of success with that. We're getting close to about 60% of our graduates graduating with either college credit or industry certification. And our goal would be that all of them do, which is better than any score on any test. You know, you talk about SAT or ACT, which fewer colleges are now using. But at the end of the day, that's a predictor of how you'll do in college. Well, if you got college credit on your transcript, it's not a predictor, it's proof. If you can walk into a local business or industry with an industry certification, that's proof you can do that work. Those are the things that we're trying to pursue. But again, not all rest. And it doesn't matter whether that teacher's at the pre-K level or teaching the AP course or the certification course at the high school level. It requires students being developed academically and exposed to careers beginning at pre-K and going all the way through the system. While the outcomes are measured at the 12th grade level, the inputs occur throughout that, and they're all done by people. Everything we do is for people, predominantly by people and with people. That's where we spend the vast amount of our money. We have one of the highest teacher pay rates in the state of South Carolina. We're competitive with the Southeastern regional average because for years we have supported, our board has supported teacher pay. Not just teacher pay, but pay for all of our employees to be competitive, to get the best people. You can look at all the research about educational attainment and teaching and learning. And if you look at research, you know, it has effect sizes. So the greater the effect size, either positive or negative, the greater the impact on whatever statistic you're looking at. So for student achievement, the largest effect size to positively drive student achievement is teacher quality. It's far higher than any of the others. It's higher than class size, it's higher than facilities, it's higher than technology, way outpaces any of those. The second most important effect size is the quality of principal in the school. Of course, you all directly involved in schools with some of the work that you do with your Rotary Club. So you already know that, or you know that through your students, your children, or your grandchildren. Again, it's a very challenging role. It always has been, but the challenges are new and they're different. And the one thing that's a little different now is the level of community engagement that's not necessarily positive. And that's the part that we need to work on. And you can help us with that by carrying forth that message. The one I shared with you today, things that teachers will share with you. Most importantly, to people that tell you stuff that just sounds crazy. Well, you know, you need to call the school and talk to the principal about that. Or you need to call the school district and ask them about that. That just doesn't sound like that might be possible. But the things I shared with, those are true. Those are things that are circulating around now. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I very much appreciate the fact that you value education, that you value our teachers, and that you spend your time, your effort, and your resources in directly supporting what they do. Thank you.
So now we get the honor of meeting our Teacher of the Year and our 3 runners-up. As a reminder to everyone, the Teacher of the Year process is every school picks a teacher to represent them. Then they have to fill out a pretty extensive application. I've read many of them. There's a lot of information, and it mirrors what the state requirement is. Whereas everybody's name and schools whited out, so you have no idea who the people are. The top 10 are picked based on their application, and then there are classroom visits, surprise classroom visits, and interviews with the teachers. And so that's how we get to the top 10. So we're going to start out today by meeting our 3rd runner-up, who is Becky Benjamin, an English teacher at Wade Hampton High School.
I'm Becky Benjamin, and I teach English at Wade Hampton High School. We'll probably see this on the test. As an English teacher, I'm blessed to be able to nurture empathy in my students through someone else's story. So in looking at literary texts, we are able to sit in a circle and discuss, these events, these life changes characters are going through.
The best he can do is look out for his actual physical health and well-being.
They share with me their vulnerabilities in a circle where we all trust each other, and they see that their stories, their own personal stories, are just as powerful when their classmates talk to them and reassure them and give them comments like, "Thank you for sharing."
Okay, does the story ever end?
I am so lucky to be where I am in my life right now at Wade Hampton High School, and to be a part of these children's lives who I will continue to be a part of forever. I promise Dr. Royster and I did not get our speeches together today, but I too want to talk about one of the challenges I see in education right now. Currently in my school, I am teaching AP Literature and numerous other AP subjects, but AP Literature is my favorite because we're able to sit in a circle, like I said in the video, and talk. And I do Socratic seminar, and I tell the kids, guys, it's just book club. It's just a book club. And to listen to them talk about things that are happening in their lives. And a lot of times they can put it on the character, and then it's a step away from them. And in my own classroom, just this year, I know that I'm dealing with situations of anxiety and depression and gender identity. And we can look at these characters in literature and we can talk about them. And then it doesn't seem so personal for them to share their own story, or to talk about the character and maybe the character's parents or how the character's viewed at school. And I enjoy that so much. In my own school over the past 6 years, we've had one prolonged illness death, 2 suicides, and 5 accidental deaths. And so these students today are dealing with so much more than I dealt with in school growing up. And my husband teaches elementary, and he says, I might be dealing with some pretty serious things, but there's a whole different side to what you deal with high school students. One of the things that I'm most thankful for Greenville County Schools this year, or starting last year, was to include social emotional learning in our classrooms. And the Socratic seminar, when we're talking about characters, we can then segue into those ideas from social emotional learning. One of my favorite things to ask students when we are talking about a character is, now, if you were their psychologist, what would you tell them? And I love to hear how they would make it better. And then I'm hoping that transfers to their own lives or to the lives of their friends. I want to thank the Rotary for recognizing all of us today. I'm in really great company with these ladies and Greenville County Schools. Thank you.
So, Becky, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Greenville and all you do for your students, we'd like to offer a small token of our appreciation. Our second runner-up is Leslie Hipp, a second grade teacher at Robert Cashin Elementary School.
My name is Leslie Hipp. I teach second grade at Robert E. Cashin Elementary School.
All right, so you are already ahead to make a plan to solve, right?
I came up with this crazy idea to have my dad help me build a stage.
What is the number? And if I borrow a 10, how many ones do I need to draw, Jayceon?
And it just allows me to have this energy and this presence. I want my kids to love school. I really want them to come to school and be excited to be there. In college, my junior year, I was able to go to the Ron Clark Academy, and I was absolutely enthralled. The students loved to be there. I was captivated as a college student. I wanted to be there. I wanted to learn from that. And I really became passionate about wanting my students to feel the same way.
Get to look at the whole scene.
Just kind of always keeping them on their toes. They never know what fun, exciting thing is happening next, and it's creating an environment in my classroom where my students love my class.
Are you gonna tell me to add?
So I just think through creating that fun, engaging environment, my students are just learning to love school, and it's a place they want to be.
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you for having us here today. As teachers, we never know what students are going to be placed into our classroom. Each year, we're given a new set of students that have different home lives, different personalities, different strengths and weaknesses. And as educators, it's our job to meet their needs and help them master the standards and content. As you saw in my video, I'm extremely passionate about creating a space where my students want to come to school, they want to learn, and they're engaged at all times. I am able to create this classroom environment by wearing funny costumes or doing chants, having my students mirror what I'm saying and the motions that I'm doing. We do a lot of room transformations where I transform my classroom into a whole new place. So they might come in and it might be a jungle for a week. And all of our content is jungle themed. And through this, I've created this environment where my students are excited to come to school. And when you're excited to do something, you're gonna pay attention. You're going to learn more. You're going to be more engaged with what you're doing and be willing to take risks. So my favorite story is a student I had my third year of teaching. His name is Carson, and Carson had been retained. And so he was repeating second grade in my class, and he did not have the best home life. He had just been placed with a new family member. He had a lot of anxiety, and he was just angry that he had to come and be in my classroom at all. So I quickly knew that I needed to build that positive relationship with him and find a way to get him to want to be here. I was like, if I can just get him to want to come to my classroom, then maybe we will be able to meet those academic needs as well as his social and emotional needs. So I knew that Carson was a huge Carolina Gamecock fan. I know I'm sure we have lots of Clemson fans in the audience too, but I decided to transform my classroom into a football stadium. So my students, I told them, I was like, okay, wear your favorite team shirt. We're going to have a football day. And we came in and I had some Carolina decor and I added some Clemson too, don't worry. And his entire demeanor had changed. Immediately he was like, whoa, it was Will Muschamp. I had a Will Muschamp. He's like, there's Will Muschamp. And I was like, yes. And then I was like, are you so excited? And he had his Carolina jersey on. He participated. He raised his hand. At the end of the day, he gave me a hug. I hug all of my students when they leave, but every day he would give me that little dodge that please don't hug me. So I'm very respectful of that. But he came up, he gave me a big hug and he said, this is the best day ever. And from that point on, while not every day was perfect, he was more excited. He was willing to take risks in my classroom, and he was able to leave second grade and move on to third and be successful. He is now in middle school, and he actually came back to our school last week for a little visit. His grandma brought him by and he ran up to me in the cafeteria. He's like, Miss Hip, I'm in sixth grade and my favorite subject is math. He did not like math in second grade. So I was very glad to hear that. So I've quickly realized that by building positive relationships, using student interest in my classrooms, I'm able to create a place where my students just want to come, they want to love to learn. And that is my goal, to make every student love learning so that they are able to master those contents and standards. Another thing I'm really passionate about is social emotional learning, as well as their character building. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank the Rotary Club for their Early Act First Night program. We have our first assembly of the year tomorrow, actually, to recognize our EAFK. But I love seeing the positive impact it has had on my students. So thank you.
So next we have our first runner-up, Michelle Stein, who is a 7th grade special education inclusion teacher at Northwest Middle School.
I am Michelle Stein. I teach 7th grade inclusion at Northwest Middle School. Being an inclusion teacher means I travel. So I go from one math class on one team to one math class on the other team.
And see what the measurements become, okay? And then record them and find the sum.
An inclusion teacher is a special education teacher who works directly with general education teachers, typically in the math and ELA setting. I serve and provide services to 7th grade special education students. The co-teachers that I teach with are very open and willing and love the inclusion model.
Is that where you want it? Okay, so what's this one now?
All means all is extremely important for my role as an inclusion teacher, as a special education teacher, because I truly, at my core, believe that all students can learn. that all students can be successful despite disability, ability, anything.
So right now it's at 135 and 45, right?
I do what I do, and I get up and go to work every day because I love those kids so much. When I see them succeed and those aha moments of when it clicks, you know, after we've done something over and over again and done it in different ways, that's why I love what I do. Hello. First of all, a little bit, you know, when I went into education, I was not special ed mindset at all. I wanted to be a high school social studies teacher, and I had my heart set on that. So that's what I did my undergrad in. And my senior year, my advisor was very honest with me. And at the time, I'm from upstate New York. There were not many openings. You know, there was not a teacher shortage 10 years ago. And he said, you know, you might want to get into something like literacy or special ed. And my student teaching placement, I happened to be in a co-teaching setting. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty awesome. You get to work with someone else. You get to help students who are struggling. So that's what I did. I got my master's in special ed. And while I was doing that, I was working in a self-contained setting, a behavior program, and in a summer school program with students with pretty severe disabilities. It was called a 12-1-3. So you had 12 kids, one teacher, 3 aides, and I was one of the assistants. And I was working with these little precious darlings with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or, you know, other kind of significant things where I was helping them with lunch, bringing them to the bathroom, and I just fell in love. And that was kind of my road to special education. I really was not set on it when I went to school to begin with. When I finished my master's 9 years ago, I moved down here, thinking, oh, I'll stay for a couple of years, maybe then I'll get experience, go back up north, and clearly I haven't left. And I don't plan on it. I love it. I love what I do. You know, people think special ed and they think what I used to think, that it's separate classes, kids get pulled out, they go to separate locations. And that's the opposite of what our goal is. I push into their classes. I work with 4 amazing co-teachers in math and English. You know, I plan with them. My co-teachers and I, we're like a family. We support our students so that they can get a regular education, so that they are on track to graduate, so that they're not being removed from the classroom anymore. The school I work at has almost 20% special education population. So if you think about it in numbers, that's almost 1 in 5 kids. 7th grade alone, we have about 45 or 50 kids out of about 250 in 7th grade that have an IEP. So it's how to best serve them, how to support them. And that's where my heart is. You know, these students who struggle. I have 7th graders reading on a 1st grade level. How do I help them access the same curriculum? How do I help them achieve and move up? That's my goal. That's where my heart is. That's why I love what I do. Because when you see these kids who struggle with reading, who struggle with math, and, you know, they test out of this reading program that they're in. We have like a huge celebration for them. Like it's a big party when they test out or when they move their Lexile level up. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world when they make an A or a B on a test, because it means so much more to them. So that is why I love what I do. That's why my heart is in special ed. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I have. Thank you.
All right, so now we get to meet our Teacher of the Year for Greenville County Schools. That's Wendy Franz. She is a 5th grade teacher at Brushy Creek Elementary School.
I'm Wendy Franz. I teach 5th grade at Brushy Creek Elementary.
Let's go.
My favorite part about teaching is the kids. That's why I get up every morning. I love when I get to meet a new class. They become my kids, and I call them my kids. I tell them the first day of school, you're going to be my kids. So if you do something silly, I'm gonna be upset at you, just like your mom would. So you are my kids for the next 180 days and forever, really.
5,000 pounds or 5 tons.
I just care that they're kind to others and that they learn how to communicate with others in life and learn how to work out their problems without getting upset or getting angry. And so I try to role model that for them as a teacher and help them work through that as students. I don't ever want to become just the one who just shows up every day at 7:45 or 7:30 and like, I'm here, let's get this done. I don't ever want to become that teacher.
Add the zeros because it's 2,000, it's not 2.
I want parents to know that they are getting a teacher that is going to love their child, that is going to put 100% into teaching their child what they need to learn for 5th grade especially, but what they need to learn for life. They need to know that I'm going to do the best I can for their child and the best thing for their child. They will be a better person when they're done with me. Hello, and thank you Rotarians for having us for this wonderful luncheon. This is not a typical lunch that elementary teachers get to have. Not at all. The cafeteria is much louder than you guys. Being a teacher is more than teaching in the classroom. It's about being a role model, a guidance counselor, and helping students grow socially inside and outside the classroom. Throughout my career, I have volunteered in several organizations, but at our school specifically as a Beta Club sponsor, a teacher cadet sponsor, a hands-on Greenville volunteer, and also in our youth ministry at church. Oftentimes, as a teacher, you are under so much stress to teach the standards, to get everything in a day. I still every day write a post-it. I've been teaching, this is my 21st year, and every single day, I still write a post-it of everything I need to get through that day. I love a good list. I don't know how many of you love a list, but I'm a list person. And to meet the expectations sometimes in your classroom, you lose sight of how you can help your students build a bridge between learning and their community. For the past 20 years, I've involved my students in various programs through my classroom, not through our school technically, but through my classroom. Every year we do this project called 11 Days of Giving. It's the 11 days right before Thanksgiving, and my students bring in different food items to donate to the Triune Mercy Center downtown, to Miracle Hill Ministries, or to Greer Relief. We also, through Beta Club at my school, I have them bring in, we do at Christmas time, a teddy bear collection where we collect teddy bears and gift cards. I don't know if you know that the parents of children that are in the hospital spend a lot of money on takeout food. They spend a lot of money because they're not home. They want to be with their child. They also spend a lot of money on gas to get to the hospital back and forth. So my Beta Club collects gift cards, gas gift cards to give to those parents. Last year, we collected over $600 worth of gas gift cards and then a ton of teddy bears. That was so fun, traveling down in my car to take all that down last year. Throughout the year, my classroom also participates in this program called Operation Gratitude. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a nationwide program that helps veterans in the United States and veterans here in our community. So probably about once a month, my class will make cards, we'll bring in special treats, we'll put together little boxes to take to veterans in our community, and sometimes even send them across seas. And we'll put little pictures in there, and my kids love that. I've also received notes back from some of those veterans before. So as you can see, I continually search for opportunities to drive my classroom forward. I teach my students that kindness and giving to others is important, not only because it makes you feel good, but because it makes them think of someone other than themselves. With the amount of technology, oh my goodness, that students are on nowadays, I'm guilty of it as a parent too. Sometimes they are so used to the instant gratification. I want things now. In my classroom, if a student looks something up and Google doesn't pop up an answer right away, their hand goes up, the Wi-Fi must be down. No, the Wi-Fi is not down. The Wi-Fi is still working, we're still going, but they want those answers right away. And I think by teaching kids, they're so used to receiving information so much instead of giving, that I feel like if we can connect them to giving and connect them to the community and giving back something instead of receiving, it helps them learn a lifelong lesson that I hope one day they'll be like this and sitting here and giving back to the community. That's my goal, to build a bridge between school and the community and not just what you can receive all the time. Anne Frank said that no one ever becomes poor by giving. And I have that in my classroom. And I have students ask me, what does that mean? And I'm like, you'll figure it out. Like, and I want them to figure it out on their own. As we continue throughout the year, you'll figure it out. So the impact of a teacher is unmeasurable. I know all of us talked about our favorite teacher. I hope you did at your group. We talked about our favorite teachers. Some are elementary school, some are high school. And like Dr. Royster, he had 4 favorite teachers or 5. There were several. But the job of teaching is not about test scores specifically to me. And I know these other teachers at the table. And it's not about the standards every day. Most of the time, my job is about teaching them to be kind. That's probably, I would say, 60% of my job every day. Did you answer that person kindly? Did you respect that person? And then in the middle of there, can you do this fraction? Can you add fractions as I'm teaching them to be kind? So our jobs is important. Teaching is probably one of the most important jobs. And that's why we continue to rise each day. That's why I rise each day. These teachers rise each day. Dr. Royster still gets up and rises each day, just so we can meet the needs of our students. So thank you for honoring us today. That's very special. This is such an honor to be here today and to have this nice luncheon. So thank you, Rotarians. Appreciate it.
So that'll conclude our Teacher of the Year program. And we just thank you all for all that you do and the difference you're making in people's lives. You truly are changing the world, and we just can't thank you enough.
Hey guys, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, my name is Jeremy Hart, and this is Laura. I know you don't know her, so we're going to give you a bit of an update on Greenville Village.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Laura McCullough, and I am chairing the group sales this year for the Greenville Holiday Village. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. We are offering group sales tickets again this year. We reach out to companies and other organizations, and if you go to a church or you have somewhere you attend where there's groups of people that you know, they can buy these group tickets as well. This is a great opportunity to treat your friends, family, and employees to some holiday cheer and fun. Please get the word out to your organizations and your friends of this great opportunity. And there's a minimum purchase of 20 tickets. The tickets are $10 when you use the group discount code KHB Group at checkout. So all you have to do is go to greenvilleholidayvillage.com, and there'll be a ticket tab that you can click on, and you can buy group tickets for the Saturday and Sunday events, and the tickets will be $10 with that group code. If you have any questions, there's a page or there's a section in there where you can ask a question, and those will come to me, and I will return any emails and within 24 hours. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
All right. And then talking about the silent auction. So last year's silent auction was a very big success. We were able to raise somewhere around $7,000 thanks to your guys' help and local businesses. This year's goal is about twice that. We would like to double that. That's a very lofty goal. Our committee is working hard with local organizations and businesses to try to get items donated. I think we're working somewhere around 50 businesses right now. Obviously, we're going to need some more help than that. So if you guys want to help, we would be greatly honored. If you or your business would like to donate items, let me or Jan know, and we can help you get signed up. And the items themselves, they can be objects, they could be experiences, whatever you think is marketable in a silent auction, somewhere valued about $75 and above. So it's our goal to blow last year's fundraising efforts out of the water. And maybe we'll have such good items that we're going to need some more security measures at the silent auction area. So just let me or Jan know if you have any questions and want to sign up. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm here to close us out. I know we ran a little bit over, but I won't be long at all. Do not come here on October 11th. Go to the fall social. We're at Ink and Ivy. Thank you to Rob for telling us about that. Pass the cart bucket, folks. Pass the cart bucket. We hadn't heard a commercial today, but I'm going to remind you about that. Also, Beth Padgett would want you to know we have our foundation banquet coming up on November 18th. It'll be at the Hilton here in Greenville. Tickets are $50. That should be a great event for the Rotary Foundation. And again, thank you to our Teachers of the Year. Thank you to Dr. Royster. Thank you to our guests from Alexander Elementary. Dr. Royster signed a book that we'll be donating to the Alexander Elementary Library for you. So it's great to have you here. And we had 4 folks in Discover Rotary today. Remember the challenge? In Field of Dreams, they said, build it and they will come. I think for Rotary, it's tell it. Tell the Rotary story and they will come. And that's what we're doing through Discover Rotary. So remember to invite some folks to do that. That's it for me. If you would stand, we'll say the 4-way test and then be adjourned. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill or better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks.